I am a mom to a 2-year-old boy who was born 4 weeks early and a newborn girl who was born 1 week late, a wife and a full-time special education teacher. My name is Ashley and I am a miraculous mama.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Miraculous Mamas podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Joy, and we believe in empowering women through education and storytelling. I hope you guys got the chance to listen this last week to the bonus episode with Sevilla Morgan talking about childless not by choice. She has an amazing story and also tons of resources for women struggling with whether it's infertility or just not being able to have children, and men too. And she's just an awesome, awesome resource to reach out to. Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. And to your moms. I mean, they brought you into this world. So I feel like being pregnant on Mother's Day is weird. I don't know if anybody else feels that way or felt that way, because it's like, I don't really feel like I'm a mom yet. So when people tell me Happy Mother's Day, I'm like, thanks. I just like have this alien inside my body that kicks me a lot and, you know, makes me crave weird things, but that's basically it. So I would like to know if you guys felt weird on Mother's Day, and any stories that you have with that, if you guys celebrated it and what you did. For me, just like I said, yeah, being pregnant, I feel like I haven't earned it yet. So, but that's all right. Next year, I'm sure I'll feel like a mom. But so this week, so May is also, we have preeclampsia awareness. We have foster care awareness, which we're going to talk about today. And it's also maternal mental health awareness. So next week, we have Dr. Reem coming on. She's a psychologist and she deals with perinatal mental health. And she is just so awesome. She's so much fun to talk to her. I got so much out of the episode because I had her counsel me a little bit on some things that I've been thinking and feeling and going through. And I know a lot of people can relate. But she's an awesome resource and she's going to be on next week. So definitely look out for that. This week we have Lilley on, and I'm going to introduce her, have her tell you a little bit about herself, but she's just an awesome, awesome woman. And she's so passionate about foster care and I don't know, it's very contagious listening to her because she's so passionate about it, but also brings the knowledge and the education and busts myths, right? All of the, well, what if this happens? And what if that happens? Well, what about this? And she just answers a lot of those questions, but she also dives into her faith, and which is something that I could definitely relate with growing up in the church and what it would take for the kids in foster care to actually get the help that they need and where faith comes into play with it. So she's very strong. You can just tell she's such a strong woman and she has such amazing energy. And I really hope that you enjoy this interview. I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. Hey everybody, I have Lilley here and I'm so excited to be interviewing her. May is Foster Care Awareness Month, so we're definitely going to dive into that. She has such a huge heart for spreading the message of why foster care is so important, but she's also an actress, a singer, a children's book author. I was doing some research on her and she's one of those women that just does it all. And on top of that, has kids and adopts them and fosters them. So she's going to be talking to us about all of that stuff today. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's so awesome to connect with other awesome moms. I mean, that's how we survive, right?
Right, for sure. I'd love for you to just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words.
Oh gosh. So yeah, I mean, you touched on it. I'm an actress and singer mainly. Those are my two main fields. But the whole reason I got involved in that, is because I love the art of storytelling. And I love the art of storytelling because you're able to impact people you would never otherwise meet in their own living room, you know, in their own personal heart, in their mind. People that maybe have walls up can be touched so deeply by a television program or by a movie, you know, without having to feel like they're having a confronting conversation. So that's why I fell in love with acting and singing, but also because, you know, our culture, in my opinion, is so backwards in the fact that we give celebrities this voice in our lives and this authority in our lives. And I don't agree with that, but I am somebody who will use that truth in order to have a platform to inspire change and to shine the light on issues that so actually matter, you know, like foster care and like adoption and like child abuse and things that are going on in our country that are confronting and that people don't want to talk about, but they absolutely deserve sunlight. So that's who I am. That's why I am. And yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you brought up, though, the celebrity thing, though, because I find myself also just kind of having an issue with this whole influencer movement and people calling themselves influencers, but it's like you're really not influencing people to do anything except for
other than wear like cute clothes,
right?
And feel bad about themselves.
Exactly, to compare themselves and their lives. It's like if you have a platform, use it. Like be passionate about something. I don't care if you're so passionate about feeding hummingbirds and you want to spread that message, like do it, but like be passionate about something, you know?
Yeah.
So I love that you are using that. So, I mean, you said it too. So when you think about foster care, a lot of people don't know that there's so much correlated with it when it comes to like sex trafficking and child abuse and different things that are going on. And those are the things that I guess some people don't want to hear, right? But it's really important to talk about the importance of why these kids need homes and why, people aren't really aware that there is a crisis in the United States when it comes to finding homes for displaced children. So I'd love for you to just kind of touch on that a little bit.
Definitely. Okay. So, you know, first of all, there's so many misconceptions in foster care. First, children in foster care are not juvenile delinquents. That's what everybody thinks. They're children, they're youth. A lot of them are infants who ended up in a broken system through no fault of their own, but because they sustained often unimaginable levels of abuse and neglect, and they deserve all the love and the stability and the support that we could possibly give them. And, raising awareness about it is just so important to me and so important to you because if we don't intervene, then the statistics are bleak. So we can break the cycle of abuse, but if we don't step in and do something, well, then here are the statistics that will happen. Of the 2 million that are incarcerated here in the United States, over 75% of them spent time in the foster care system. And of the 500,000 homeless we have, 50% spent time in the foster system. And of the victims that we are still recovering from sex trafficking raids in the United States, over 60% came from the foster care system. So foster care system really is ground zero. And the encouraging statistic, because I always love to give an encouraging statistic, and I think it's the most encouraging statistic I've ever heard, is that if one person out of every 3 churches in the United States, and we're just talking about Christian churches, and I think that's even Protestant, and like add in the Catholics, like we're all like under the same umbrella, add in people from synagogues and other, that are just great people. But if the statistic that's so encouraging is that if one person out of every 3 churches in the United States were to rise up and become a foster parent, then there would be no more children in the foster system waiting for a home. They would be housed. And then what's more, you would have thousands and thousands of homes who are already licensed and willing to take on the next call, because there will be another call. But what you see is you would see the gap starting to close. So if good foster families stepped in, and the goal of foster care is always reunification, which for anyone listening who doesn't know what that means, it means that when it is possible, you want to be able to come alongside the birth family of those children and put them back in that family. It is so important to have family. it matters, it matters to your identity. You want to be put with your blood family if possible. But when that's not possible, and sometimes it's not, unfortunately, these parents or the birth family does not get it together, and it's not a healthy option for that child. And the number one priority should be, now it's not always, but should be for the safety and well-being and mental health of that child. So when reunification is not possible, if you get good people fostering, then the next call is adoption when necessary. And adoption is our joy, and it needs to be our joy. And when you do that, you will see the gap closing of children that are leaving the foster system, and you're going to shrink that statistic, and you can break the cycle of abuse. And then by doing so, you're having positive ramifications on the judge and the judicial system, the legal system. There won't be overcrowding in our jails because people will know that they are loved, that they are valued, that they are created on purpose and with a purpose, and they're empowered and equipped to cause positive change and positive impact. I mean, I can't speak to someone who has lived the crime life. They're not going to listen to me. I'm squeaky clean and I'm on the Hallmark channel. I'm obnoxious to someone like that. But if you get somebody who has lived that life, who is saying, you know what, I got out of it, you can get out of it. We're going to see that statistic shrink. We're going to see girls who know their value, who know that selling your body, it's not actually empowering, it's enslaving. And that statistic is going to shrink. You'll see drug use shrinking. You'll see homelessness shrinking because then you have family who's taking care of you. So it's really encouraging. One person out of every 3 churches, that's something that's easy to digest. That's a statistic that's so empowering. And then you add in all sorts of people who want to actually impact positive change. And we have a crisis that's not such a crisis anymore. It's something that's attainable. I really do believe that our generation will see the end of the foster system if we rise up.
Yeah, I love that you brought up the church because I recently just was doing a study through James, and one thing that continued to speak out to me was taking care of your widows and your orphans. Like, if you are a Christian, if you're listening to this podcast and you are a Christian, and you believe that we're supposed to live as right, it is like we are literally like that is our duty, is to take care of the orphans of the world, to take care of the people who are without, the widows and orphans. And that verse really was convicting to me because I was sitting at a table with 12 other women and we're reading through James, and I felt like that verse just kept kind of getting skipped over. Like, oh yeah, we're supposed to do all these things. And I'm like, how many people here are actually like considering fostering or adopting because like we're commanded to do that. So it's like you take 3 churches, and if one person follows like what you're commanded to do, you could eradicate this issue, which is just mind-blowing.
I know. That's like, I don't know the estimates. I haven't looked at the numbers of like church attendance and gotten the average, but I'm just guessing based on my own, theories. That's probably like one person out of every 750 when you count in the mega churches alongside the churches that maybe have like 50 people.
That's definitely values that I was brought up with as well, but it's super interesting how we kind of like pick and choose, like you said, like what's convenient for our lives and no part. Like, this world isn't about us. It's not about convenience for us. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. All right, we're going to take a quick break for me to introduce to you guys a new product that I absolutely love called Cacao Bliss. And during pregnancy, you get a lot of different cravings. And I can honestly say that before pregnancy, I wasn't a huge chocolate person, but I am now. I have this sweet tooth, but I still want to look for something that's not going to make me feel like crap after I eat it, which is why I love Cacao Bliss. It's an indulgent chocolate made from sun-kissed cacao beans and a blend of power-packed ancient superfoods, including turmeric, MCT oil, coconut, Himalayan sea salt, cinnamon, and black pepper. And you can mix it into warm or cold drinks, smoothies, or even baked goods. It's the perfect way to give yourself a little self-love and fuel your body with healing nutrients that keep you healthy and energized. And there's nothing better than enjoying rich, smooth, creamy chocolate and knowing that you're doing something good for your body as well. Like I said, I didn't have too much of a sweet tooth before I was pregnant, and now I do. I actually crave it. But what I love is that I am guilt-free when I eat this because it is so good. And not only does it curb your sweet tooth, but it actually boosts your energy. The components in it reduce inflammation with one simple drink. Cacao Bliss is friendly to paleo, gluten-free, keto, vegan, and vegetarian diets. It is so amazing. Cacao Bliss is offering up to 46% off and a free electric frother when you use the code MAMAS at earthechofoods.com/miraculous-mamas. And if you guys haven't tried that electric frother, it is amazing. That's 46% off and a free electric I can't say that word, frother when you use the code MAMAS at earthechofoods.com/miraculous-mamas. Now back to the episode. So I would love for you to, you have 2 biological children?
One biological, one formerly adopted, one in foster care, who is the little brother of my adopted son. He was in the process of being adopted, yay. And then I also have a 21-year-old that has just lived with us for a couple months now, and she was aging out of foster care, and it's been our joy to have her in our house and family.
Awesome. That's so cool. Okay, so repeat that. So you have 1 biological, 2 adopted, and 1 fostered.
1 biological, 8-month-old Julie. 1 adopted, Caden, who's almost 4. A 2-year-old who is in foster care and is in the process of being adopted.
Got it. Okay.
It's not finalized yet. And then a 21-year-old who has left the foster system and who we get to out in our house, which has been awesome.
Oh, cool. That is really cool. And I mean, I would love to talk about a lot of different things, but one of the biggest things that I hear, and even that you hear from people who are like, yeah, but, it's like, okay, so you have a 21-year-old in your home and people's questions would be, well, how do you trust that person? Like, you think of the scary movies of where somebody adopted a child and they murdered the family, right? So it's like you're getting these people with all these issues. Now you're taking those on. Like, how do you make that work?
Right. Well, I think that's when you really need to have discernment, and that's where I would say, thank God I have Jesus, and you have to use discernment, It's not something that hasn't crossed my mind. I think that's certainly what upset my parents, about the whole situation was like, how can you, that's like, yeah, exactly what you just said. But the thing is I don't know how to answer this question for anyone who is not of faith. But for me, I really believe that God is faithful when we are faithless. And I really believe that he loves the fatherless. He has such a heart for the fatherless, and he will rise up and take care of them. And for me personally, in every relationship, I think that lasts, you have a gas and you have a brake pedal. That's the analogy. And if it's not evident to anybody, I am absolutely the gas and the gasoline and the matches in our relationship. Like, I want to do way too many things. And my husband's the stable and normal one who's like, you're crazy. I just want to clock out at 5, clock out from work and be done. And I'm like, I don't ever want a boss. And he's like, I love a boss. I don't want responsibility. So he is the brakes in every way, and it's great. It's a great balance for me. And how we met our 21-year-old, we were at a pastor's luncheon, and she was speaking, and unfortunately, she said that the church had never stepped up and helped her. And it was my husband, of all people, who is the one that's like, we are absolutely not taking in another kid. We are not doing this. Like, no, absolutely not, all the time. And for right reasons. He was the one that turned to me immediately, and he was like, we should adopt her. Like, we should bring her into the family. That is sin. That is the absolute definition of sin. Like, you're 21 years old. You've never had, positive relationship with the church. And so the second part is, I was excited, of course, when he said that, and I was like, oh, I'm going to run with that. But we prayed about it for a month. We asked all the questions. I met with her social workers. I asked the hard, real questions that you need to ask. And then I talked to my pastors. I talked to Caden's old social worker, who is always like, you absolutely cannot take any more children, Jen. Like, he always tells me, he's like, you may not take more children. Like, I'm not calling you if Caden's mom gets pregnant again. And I'm like, you better call me if she gets pregnant again, you know? So he was like, I think it's great. All the people in our lives, except my family, thought it was great, you know, and part of my family thought it was great. But so it's, you have to trust. And I, you know, and another thing I prayed was for closed doors or open doors. Like, if this is not right, God, then close the door. And if this is you, open the door. And I have never seen doors so wide open. And then, you know, I've talked to other moms that encourage me that have taken on similar situations, but like way worse, you know, scary situations. And they just said, if you have peace, go with it. The minute you don't have peace, like, have a conversation. Right. And so that's really sage advice. And I think that we have to remember that, you know, we're not perfect. And in my opinion, I have never understood the analogy in the Bible so much that we're adopted into God's family. You know, like, I'm not Jewish by birth, so I'm not part of his biological chosen, you know, race. I am not part of God's chosen people. But there is not a more inclusive religion or faith in the entire world, in the history of ever, and there never will be a more inclusive religion than Christianity. You know, Jesus died for all, so that all nations from every background, every origin could have a relationship with God, not some nameless entity. You know, he's not the universe. He's not like some cosmic power. He is the creator of the universe, and he has adopted me into his family to have, you know, a real relationship with him. And so if I'm adopted, like, who am I to like exclude somebody?
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's definitely, I feel like all of us have been at a point in our lives at some point where, I know for me, like, I've lived places where I didn't have family, and then I had to kind of like choose my family, and there's like people who kind of like, you know, took me in or whatever. So I feel like that's just kind of a part of who we are too, is taking care of each other. You know, that's the whole point of community. And that's like a human need, is community. So,
absolutely.
And you talk about how, like, advocating for children's rights, like, what exactly does that mean? Like, what are the rights of these children in the foster care system that maybe they're not getting or don't have access to?
So children have a right, like any human, to love, to safety, to stability, to having their own belongings. You know, children in foster care, so often when they move from one home to the next, they don't even have a suitcase. And if they do get to take theirs with them, which is absolutely their right because it was part of their subsidy money, the clothing, the toys, whatever they got in that house that they were previously in, they have a right to carry it to the next house. But oftentimes they're not even being granted that right. And then they're moving in trash bags, which is such an external representation of what they're experiencing internally, you know, and that's not okay. And then just have a voice, you know, until you're 18 in our country, you are not recognized as someone who legally has a right to much. And so they have a right to be trusted. They have a right to be given responsibility. They have a right, just like any other child, to have a childhood, to have safety, to not be sexually abused, to be able to maintain their innocence, you know? So, yeah, so many things are taken from them, and it's not okay.
Right, yeah. I can't even imagine growing up in the foster care system, you know, and just having to go from home to home, or, I mean, like, where do they stay when they don't have a home?
Right. Yeah, like in homeless shelters. And that's scary. I can't imagine spending one night in a homeless shelter.
Right. Yeah. Especially as a child. Like, I know the child homelessness population in the United States is crazy. And that's like one thing that blows my mind. Like, we're supposed to be like the greatest country in the world, but yet we have so many issues when it comes to taking care of other people. And I mean, that I truly believe too, if the church was doing its job, what it was called to do, like, we wouldn't have a lot of these issues. And that's like a whole nother thing. But I mean, we've totally chosen what we want to digest from the Bible. And we've
we've edited our Bible. Like God does want you to live a life that is fulfilled and blessed, but it doesn't look like what we say in the American church, you know?
Right. Oh, 100%. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break so I can talk to you about an amazing resource, and that is BetterHelp. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, and they make it so easy for you to be able to talk to somebody about what may be interfering with your happiness, or if there's something preventing you from achieving your goals. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You get to connect in safe and private online environment. It's so convenient. And you can send a message to your counselor anytime, which is awesome to kind of have that help that you know that you can reach out whenever. And it's such an amazing tool. I've had such great feedback on it, talked to a lot of people who have used it. And I just started as well. They are super affordable, way more affordable than traditional offline counseling. And there's financial aid available. The service is available for clients worldwide. They have professional counselors who are specialized in depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, sleeping, trauma, anger, family conflicts. Just the list goes on and on and on. And anything that you share with them will be confidential. It's so convenient. They're very professional, and it's affordable, which is amazing. I want you to start living a happier life today. And as a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/babies. Join over 800,000 people who are taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/babies. Now back to the episode. So I would love for you, a quick little fun segue. So I heard you talking about finding names out for your daughter. So I'm pregnant, and my husband and I do not agree on a lot of names. And you were like, half of them you hate and whatever. So,
Totally.
You guys finally did agree on a name for your daughter. How was that process of choosing a name?
Well, we have been married 13 years in May, and we were dating with purpose before that. So, we'd had the child name game thing going for years. So we had already kind of whittled it down. But, you do go through names of it would be a perfectly fine name, but a girl named that, or a guy named that. And I cannot, because I'm only going to be thinking of that horrible person.
Right.
So we had already landed on a couple names that we liked, but you just make an endless list. And for us also, name meaning is really important. So our daughter is Julie, which means beautiful and youthful like a flower. Every Julie that he or I have ever met is just so smart, but also so innocent. My best friend Julie in high school, that's where the name really was inspired from me. She is she would ruin the curve in biology. But then there was a time when we were jumping on a trampoline, actually at Jason's house when we were dating, and she heard fireworks. By the way, it was July 3rd. And she body slammed me onto the trampoline and threw me off of it and started army crawling through the grass because she thought we were being shot at. It's she's amazing. She's just somebody you want to know because she's so out there and quirky and innocent and threw me off of a trampoline to save my life from the fireworks. But then she would ruin the biology curve. So it's I love a Julie. They're so innocent, but they're also so smart. It means youthful, beautiful like a flower. And then her middle name is Evangeline, which means good news, Evangeline. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. You just play the name game back and forth, but I think name meaning is really important.
Yeah, same for us. We have our girls' name picked out, but when it comes to boys' names, we're really struggling. Oh, it's the worst. And then we're we like this one, but then you look it up and I'm that literally means nothing. I'm not naming our son that.
Yeah. And so for us, luckily our two boys are from foster care, so we didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
And their names were not my choice at all. They were last on the list for me. But Caden means battle. Come on. I do not need that in my life. But, oh, girl. Anyway, so you got to look at initials. And then our two favorite boys' names, which are Elijah and Judah, we have nephews by that name. Taken.
Right.
But I was like, if we ever got pregnant with a boy, and I hope not to get pregnant again, but if we did, I'd be like, sorry, like we're going to have a Judah or Elijah 2.0.
Right, right. Yeah, for sure. You can also look up like that name like in another language if there's like a little twist to it.
Caden in Arabic, Caden means friend and companion. I'm like, we're going with that.
Right.
That's a good one.
For sure. Yeah, no, names are definitely hard. So how did that process, I guess, go for you when you decided to start fostering? Like for people who are listening who are like, okay, maybe I've been thinking about it. I honestly feel like the biggest struggle that I hear from most people is getting their partners on board. For some reason, women have this heart for nurturing and taking care. I mean, that's just in us, right? It's like, I want to help all the babies in the world. And men are like, no, like, it's not my kid. It's not my DNA. They have this weird, prideful, masculine thing going on. And then also probably wanting to like protect and whatever, take care of their family.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that work out for you?
So that's exactly what our situation was. I was pro foster care for a long time. And Jason, through no fault of his own, just believed the misconception that 51% of Americans believe, which is that children from foster care came from the juvenile delinquent, system, that they were problem kids. And, we've been married 13 years, and in our 7th year of marriage, like 7 years of marriage, it's a real thing. Like, it's kind of a hard year. And if you get through it and you regroup and like have transparency, then it was like the best year of our marriage. And like, it's just gotten better since. But one of the things that I brought to the table was foster care. And I said to him, if we don't foster, that's okay, because you're 50% of this relationship. And I value that. And like, you're the head of the household. Like, Jason, we are partnerships and we co-lead. So I don't mean that like in a misogynistic way. I mean that like his job is to protect me, and he is the gas. And that's because like, otherwise, like I would spiral out of control. So it's godly that like he weighs in. So I said, you're 50% of this household, and your opinion is valuable. But I will not let you say no to something that you don't know what it is. So like we take an orientation class, we get the information, we find out what foster care really is. And then chances are, because I know myself and like I'm a workaholic and like I got a lot of big goals, and like kids get in the way of your goals, or you have to adapt. But in my opinion now, they like actually ignite your goals and make you work harder. And somehow God gives you the grace to get more stuff done when you have children. I swear, it's amazing. Just a little encouragement.
Yeah.
But
can't wait.
but I said to Jason, I was like, chances are we go to this class and you're the one that's on board, and I'm the one that's like, oh, absolutely not. I do not have time for that. And that's totally what happened. He finally got on board, not just because like at year 7, he was like, okay, I know that that's really like something that eats away at you. So like that was already planted in him and watered in him to like be on the shelf as something we would do. But how we really got involved was we fell in love with a girl that we mentored through Child Help program. It's called Special Friends. It's kind of like Big Brothers, Big Sisters. And we fell in love with a girl that we were mentoring, and we were trying to foster her. We did not get her. We got the call for Caden. We said no to Caden at first because I was like, absolutely not. I'm not taking on an infant. Like, I wanted to take on a kid that was, like, able to speak, that was potty trained. Can I get an amen?
Right,
and that, like, knew how to eat. So that I was like, oh, I'm going to help them catch up on their math. I'm going to, like, dismantle the lies that they've been told and pour into them, like, the truth that they are valued, that they are loved, whatever. I don't want an infant. So we got an infant, and here we are. And I love it, you know. I highly recommend fostering infants. I highly recommend fostering in general. But I will say that teenagers are the second most marginalized group. Now in the United States, infants are the least likely to be placed. And that's because parents don't want the responsibility and the liability of a baby, because babies are clumsy when they learn how to crawl. They have bruises. They have bruises on their knees. I swear every baby I've ever known or fostered, like when they learn to crawl, they just randomly will decide to slam their face into the floor just to see what happens. And you're like, there is no amount of helicopter parenting that you could do that could stop an infant from, like, I mean, they're right there. Like, they're 2 inches from the ground. They're going to have an egg on their head. And you just fill out a thing. It's called an SIR, which is Special Incident Report. Bruises that are congruent with are consistent with abuse look very different from confusions that happen from living your life and being a child and like having normal development, you know?
Yeah.
So people don't have to worry and they should foster. That's our journey in a nutshell.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. I feel like that's kind of been my thought process too. So I'm pregnant with my first kid and I have lots of nieces. I have 12 nieces and nephews. When I was younger, I could do the diaper thing. Now that I'm older, it's been so long, like I can't do it. And everyone's like, when it's your own kid, it'll be different. And I'm like, oh, I hope so. Cause I get gag attacks and I can't change poopy diapers. So I feel like that would be my mentality too. I'd be like out of diapers, done.
Oh my gosh. The first time we changed Caden, when he came to us, he was so dirty. And I mean, he came from a situation. Like, you're not 4 months old and taken out of your home without it being a situation. And the first time Jason and I changed him, because they do say like it's different when it's your own. And like, I grew up, I changed my sister's diapers and my little brother's diapers. You know, I'm 7 years old. I was changing her diapers. 11 years old. I had a baby brother, took care of him. I mean, my parents did too, but like I was very much like the older sister. So it was different with them. I never gagged. The first time we changed Caden, it's like one of my favorite memories. We were changing him and he smelled so bad anyway, because I don't know when he had his last bath, that we were gagging. But then because we were seeing each other out of the corner of our eyes, dry heaving while we were both trying to like pass me the light. And so then we started laughing. And when you laugh, you bring in more air. So it was this constant, like, I think it was like a 2-minute diaper change because we were laughing and gagging so hard. You know, It's like, oh my God, what have we done? But you get used to it. And you know, and listen, infant poop does not smell. So you're good. Infant poop does not smell until you introduce real food.
Right.
It doesn't have a smell.
But still, like...
You'll get used to it. And it's different. They're not... Infant poop is different. It's yellow and it's watery. It's not... It's like when they start having real adult poop,
right?
You know, like then you're like, you need to be potty trained, because that's when you're like, I'm out. Right. And you'll get there and you'll be fine.
Nope. Man, it's going to be so hard. I would love for you to just touch on too. I mean, for people listening who they're like, you know, I'm interested in fostering. We're done having our own kids. How will I ever love them like my own?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Valid question. Don't judge anyone listening who has that opinion. Don't judge yourself for having that opinion. That's a super valid question. And first of all, if you're thinking that, then I think you're in a good place emotionally, because that means that you are already preparing your heart out of a place of love, because you don't want to love a child less than your own. I will say, you know, on Instagram, one of the ways I found community is by using a hashtag that's like #GetTooAttached. And I think that while we can put up boundaries, and I'm really good at putting up boundaries because I'm an actress, like I understand compartmentalizing emotions and tapping into them when I need, you know, like that's my job. With Caden, I found out like after 24 hours, while I was giving him the love and affection that he needed physically, there was so much emotionally that was just walled off in me that was like, I'm not his mom. I'm going to have to give him back. This is temporary. Like, protect yourself. I really felt convicted because I do feel that he could emotionally sense that I was blocked off. So you do have to dive headlong into it. I think, you know, love grows. It's just like when you take in a foster child. It's just like when you're dating. You're not in love with your husband on day one. You're not. You grow in love with them. So if you choose love, you have to choose to put on love, choose to get licensed. You know, I mean, it's not easy to become a foster parent. They put you through the ringer. And if you've gone that, then you've already emotionally and mentally chosen to love that child. And all they need is love and stability. And even if you feel like you're not loving them as much as your bio kid in the beginning, you are moving mountains in that child's life. You are providing more love and stability than they have ever known. And love grows. Like, you will grow to love that child. I was worried when I was pregnant with my daughter, Julie, because a couple of people had asked me, you know, like, are you worried that you're going to love her more than Caden and his brother? And I was like, I mean, I hope not. Like, because people are like, oh, it's so different. You know, it's always people on the outside that are like, it's so different. And I'm like, God, I hope it's not different. And it's not. Mm-hmm. If anything, I love my boys more than her because she kept me up at night and she, she bites me and stuff like that, and you're like, ugh. And, she spits up on me and it's like, I just washed my hair. And like, can I get an amen from all the moms that are like, hello, I don't get to wash my hair very often. So like, excuse me for your spit up all over me, and the boys have personalities. So I don't love her more than the boys at all. And it just love comes. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that was a good way to describe it. Like you definitely fall in love when you choose it for that. A fun thing with your daughter is I was actually watching a video where you were being interviewed on the red carpet and you were in labor.
Yeah. I was so hoping to have her on the carpet.
Oh my
I was so hoping. I was like, if my water breaks, this is going to be a great thing for my career.
Yeah, but they were like interviewing you. You're like, I'm having a contraction right now.
Yeah. It was great.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, she didn't, they were real labor pains, but it was called prodromal labor. So I had labor pains for the weekend. And then unfortunately, my doctor broke my water, unbeknownst to him. Like he wasn't planning on it, but he broke my water. And so then it was game on. I do think I would have had her faster, but it was 22 hours of labor because I think my body was like, oh, I wasn't ready for that,
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But I think he did it because I was having labor pains for so long. He was like, don't you want to get it over with? I was like, not really. Oh God, here we go.
Right. I guess we're doing it. Yeah, that's so crazy. I work as a birth doula, so I love all things birth.
Yay!
And
that's incredible.
Yeah, all of that. So it
was awesome. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was long. It was 22 hours unmedicated, but it was awesome.
Yeah. I was watching a little video of that too. You have like a little clip of the
very family friendly, very clean.
Yes.
Yeah. Just to demystify and make it less scary for people. It was an awesome experience.
Yeah. That's so cool. So I would love, to touch on your podcast real quick because you recently just started one and it's all about foster parenting.
Yeah. So it's called Fostering Hope. Thank you so much for letting me talk about it. It's called Fostering Hope. And it's just, my whole goal is to inspire, inform, and equip people to either join the fight or to keep going, because foster care can be really isolating and there is community out there. I don't know foster parents firsthand here in Los Angeles. I don't know a single one, but I have chosen to make Instagram and other social media platforms a community instead of a billboard, because I hate celebrity culture. Mm-hmm. So it's just ability to inspire people and to inform them and to demystify them, that these are not criminals, they're children.
Right. So for people listening, if you are interested in foster care, or even if you just want to be more educated on it, like check out the podcast, because I feel like I'm just such a huge proponent of education, because when you educate yourself on something, then you feel well informed and very empowered to make a good decision for yourself. Like, it's, if you're reading into something, then it's like you said, it's the people who are like, oh, but it's different. It's like, you don't know anything about it, So like doing the research, finding out the actual statistics and what it looks like, even hearing from other families who foster. Like I've never met somebody who has fostered who regretted it.
Totally.
Who was like, I wish we never did this.
No, yeah, exactly. Like it will stretch you in the best way. And it is like fertilizer on the fruits of the spirit. I mean, it's so good. It really stretches you and makes you a better person. And also for anyone listening to my podcast, I mean, it also gives people practical ways to help. If they're like, I don't want to be a foster parent, but I don't know where to start or how to help. It's like, I got you, girl. Like $5 will save a child's life. And it's like, what? Yeah, $5 donated to childhelp.org will save a child's life. Like, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be my next question was, people who are listening who are like, fostering might not be for me, but I would love to help in some way.
Yeah. I mean, Mother Teresa said small acts of kindness done with great love, that changes the world. And it's true. Like, we all have a part to play. Don't ever judge yourself how small or big your role is, because as long as you participate, you're part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So you said childhelp.org would be a good place for people who maybe just want to help kids in the foster care system.
Yeah. Yeah, and just kids who are victims of child abuse in general. They're incredible. Every charity that I endorse, I grill like I am a criminal analyst, because there are, unfortunately, so many false charities. There's a lot of human trafficking charities are a front for child trafficking.
What?
I mean, it's shocking. There are so many horrible charities that are just shell corporations in order to actually facilitate the problem.
Wow.
Because the thing is orphans are nameless and they don't have parents that are going to be looking after them. So they're the perfect victims to make victims of human trafficking, because no one's looking after them. No one's wondering where they went. So you really need to do your research when you investigate a charity. CharityNavigator.org is a great tool to start with. But Child Help is super legit. They've been around for 60 years. They've rescued over 10 million U.S. children. They've rescued even more than that around the world. They created the 1-800-4 a child hotline, which is the child abuse hotline. It's available 24/7, 365 in 170 languages. Kids who are experiencing abuse can text in. They can also chat online now, because especially with the COVID-19 crisis, kids have lost their safe space. They're not in school where they are safe when they're experiencing abuse. And so they're able to text in, and it costs about $5 to facilitate the phone call. Between taking the call to getting the police involved to whatever, it averages out to about $5. So you can save a child's life with $5. And the founders have also been nominated for 90, that's amazing. That's my hope. 8 Nobel Peace Prizes. I'm thinking they're almost 90, and they don't take a salary, and they work like 60 hours a week still. I mean, these are like powerhouse, sassy women, and they've been nominated for 8 Nobel Peace Prizes. So I really can't think of a more legit charity to basically endorse. So that's like a start. But if anybody goes to my website, which is Lilley, Lilley.com, I have a whole charity page, and I outline like the charities that I endorse. And I have done the research. So
yeah, wow. That's just kind of mind blowing when you talk about like how some companies, it's like a cover up, and it's like, how does this exist? Like, why are these people out there? And that's when I start getting really angry. Like, it's just like, how is this much, and even with the COVID stuff, like, you do hear that the rates of child abuse have gone up and domestic violence.
Skyrocketing.
And it's like, oh my, like, why? It's like, it's so heartbreaking. But like, knowing that you can help or give in some way or step up and open your home. I mean, you
or just donate the $5, in order to basically get that child out of that situation.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Wow, that's so incredible. Thank you so much for taking the time and coming on and sharing all of this. You gave us your website. Is there anywhere else where people can follow you or learn more?
Yeah. I mean, I think my main thing is Instagram, because I actually like Instagram because I've created a community there. And so I do read all my comments. I do try to be really involved with my followers. It's Jen, JEN_Lilley, LILLEY on Instagram.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's, again, for people listening, it takes $5 if you go to childhelp.org. But also, I mean, if you're listening to this and you feel a little tug in your heart, like, lean into that and just kind of see what comes up. And I know that, I mean, when it comes to fostering, there are fears and things that come up, but a lot of them are, a lot of fear is, it's like, because you don't know, it's like unknown. We fear what we don't know or understand. So
exactly.
Like researching it, reading into it, actually talking to people who have fostered and getting stories and just kind of figuring out if that's a route that you'd like to take. Just, I encourage you to to do that. So thank you, Jen, so much for coming on and spending time with us and just diving deep and answering all the questions. And thank you so much for your heart and for leaning into that feeling and for you opening your home and just your passion of spreading this message.
Thanks for having me on. It was so lovely, more lovely than usual to see another face. I know. And to connect with another mom. It's awesome. Gosh, I love that you're a doula. You're going to have an incredible birth story. I want to hear it. I want you to, when you've healed up,
Yeah, for sure.
Let me know.
I will, for sure. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Wow. Yeah. She blows my mind. I think that when you're passionate about something, but then you just come with all of this knowledge and the resources, and you can have that conversation of, well, here are the facts, the statistics, here's busting myths, here's what you can do to help. Maybe you don't want to foster, but here's a great outlet or a way to give back and to reach out. And so it's just, she's so amazing. And it was very inspirational for me. It inspired Vito and I to have a conversation. And although we don't feel we're in a place right now to foster, it's something that we would love to do in the future. And giving to childhelp.org. All the proceeds from this episode are going to, anything from the ads is going to go to childhelp.org to help the children in need, especially during this pandemic. It is something that you really don't want to think about, the kids stuck at home with people that they don't need to be stuck at home with. So I'm so grateful for her time and her energy in coming on to share with us. It was so much fun. Like I said, next week we have Dr. Reem coming on for maternal mental health. And then the week after that, we have Melissa Joan Hart coming on, which is super exciting. We have such a fun conversation, and she is just a joy to talk to as well, and just gets really real about marriage after 17 years and having 3 kids, and how her life in the limelight has kind of played into her daily life. So it's a fun conversation. If you guys are listening, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you are enjoying these interviews, please rate and leave a review for us so that we know why you're enjoying them, and it helps get this podcast out there more. I just love you guys so much. You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for continuing to listen. I know time is really valuable right now, although a lot of people are still stuck at home or limited. It still seems like our time is being consumed by a lot of other things, whether it's having to homeschool or work from home and not having your daily commute when you usually get to listen to the podcast. So thank you guys so much for your time. And I want to thank the Facebook group. You guys are so awesome. Thank you for just being such an amazing support to each other and to me through all of this. I love you guys so much. So make sure, if you guys aren't a part of the Miraculous Moms Facebook group, that you join there. Follow us on Instagram. Also check out miraculousmamas.com. I have my pregnancy blogs up there where I share in depth what's been going on mentally, emotionally, physically since week 4 of my pregnancy. I have a week by week guide on there, and I talk about physical things like symptoms or signs that have showed up that were way different than what my apps told me, the emotional journey, the physical journey, and it's just kind of been my little journal that I get to share with you guys. So check that out at miraculousmamas.com under the My Pregnancy tab, and I will talk to you guys next week. I hope that you are enjoying May. Love you guys. Bye.